Hello, everybody. Welcome into a brand new week here at Computer America, Monday edition of the show. Hope all of you had a wonderful weekend. This is our pre-show that we do for our video viewers. And we got a terrific show planned for you. In the second hour of the show, we're going to do computer and technology news, brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They are the official optimization software of Computer America. And in the first hour, Mike Miller is here. Michael Miller, author extraordinary. Well over 150 books he's written. I think it's pushing over 200 now. And who's keeping count at this point?
I can't count that high.
So. Neither can I. And that's why we have computers to do that for us. Anyway, he's going to be joining us here for the first hour of the show.
1 minute until showtime.
And, of course, Ben is here and I am here, and hopefully you are all here. And as we begin 2 hours of Computer America. Okay, 30 seconds left as we do our countdown. Are you having technical problems, Ben?
Yes and no.
Okay. No, we still can't see you. Okay, here we go.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And it is Monday. Hope all of you had a wonderful weekend. Did something fun, something exciting, something different. And Ben, did you do anything fun, exciting, and different? I always like to ask him that.
I mean, I played video games and ate good food. I guess that's different.
Okay, well, good. And hopefully all of you, again, like Ben, had a good weekend. And we are set forth another week of broadcasts live every Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and hopefully you're joining us. If you, we're going to have, as I said, we have a terrific show planned for you. In the second hour, we're going to be doing computer and technology news. That's brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They are the official optimization software of Computer America. And in the first hour, we're going to have our good friend, longtime Computer America correspondent Michael Miller is going to be joining us, and he's going to be talking about whatever we'd like to talk about. If you have a comment or a question, certainly we'd love to hear from you. After all, Michael is also a very knowledgeable guy in the technology world, and if you have a question, give us a call at 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. We'll get you on, and it will get you through, okay? No email, but if you want to type something to us, if you don't want to go on the air or speak, go to any page at our website, ComputerAmerica.com. Literally any page. On the upper right-hand corner of any page, you'll see it says Submit a Question. Just click that. It's a link. It'll take you to a question submission page. You can type in your question, your comment, suggestion, hit the submit button beneath that, and Ben and I will see it immediately, and we'll act accordingly, depending on what it is that you send us. Okay? It's just that simple. And again, the other thing that you can do is you can watch the live Computer America show. We are a radio broadcast. That's very true. However, also, we make the live video stream available to you here on the show. So all you have to do is to watch the show is just go to any page, again, at ComputerAmerica.com, which is the internet home of our radio broadcast. And on the pull-down menu that appears on every page, you'll see it says Show Lounge. Just click that. and you will be immediately joined to the broadcasts in progress. You'll come up right to the moment. You'll see the live video stream. If you're doing this between 3 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, all right? You'll see the live video stream, and you can see the show. You can listen to the show. And Ben has the technology to display videos, websites, movies in the background. You can see all those different things that we're talking about, so it just makes for more interactive broadcasts, experience here at Computer America. Of course, if you do that any other time, you'll basically be taken to our archives page, again, which you can go to, where you can see and listen to the show, the archives of the program, all the places that it's available. It's on Apple's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Blog Talk Radio. You can all of them carry the archives of the program. So that's pretty much it. Ben, anything else? What's going on with you? What's going on?
Who knew 3-month subscriptions ended on today? That is, that thing happened. So.
Oh, so you have to renew your subscription?
Yep, it's going to be a minute.
Okay, good enough. All right. Well, at least it's not a technology glitch. We know what the problem is. Anyhow, we're going to do that. So I guess we'll just welcome our guest onto the program. Of course, his name is Michael Miller. He's the author of well over 150, maybe 200 books at this point. He's got, gosh, the books that I'm listing now are really, older ones. We should get some of the newer titles. I know he's doing Internet for Seniors, as well as many other topics too, like the Idiot's Guide to Conducting Music and B2B Digital Marketing. Mike is one of our Computer America correspondents who appears here. Mike, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
Hey, Craig. It's good to be back with you. I'm fine up here in Minnesota. We missed all the snow everybody else. The rest of the United States are getting snow this year. Minnesota isn't. I don't know whether that's El Nino or global warming or some mystical spell that was cast by a wizard up here or something, but we're mild up here this year.
Did you have a force field over the city, maybe?
That could be. No, we had one snowfall about a month or 3 weeks or so ago that we got, 1.5 feet or so, which is, that we call that Tuesday up here. But other than that, we haven't had much snow. We've had a couple days, maybe a week where it was below zero. But like today, we're 30 degrees and there's nothing coming down from the sky and there's not a whole lot on the ground. And so everybody else talking about, Snowmageddon and the blizzard of 2016 is like, not here, folks. So.
Wouldn't it be nice, though, if we could have force field technology? We could just throw a magnetic bubble of some sort over the city, and then it would.
See, I feel like magnets are just like the catch-all for instance. Like, if it seems complicated, throw a few magnets at it. That'll block snow.
Well, now for that to work, we would have to learn how to embed our precipitation with metal particles, with iron fillings or something.
Sure. You need a force
snow,
It has to be magnetic. It has to be a force field that repels all matter, except air, breathable air, of course.
But, no, I think Ben's got to think, if we just put metal particles in everything, then we can use magnets. Or, even better, if we can put little Internet of Things transmitters in every snowflake, then we can control our snowfall from our smartphones.
Didn't they already do that in Flint, Michigan? They put metal in there?
I was about to say, to turn this topical, Flint decided to do a proactive approach and just introduce metal into the water sphere. That's nice.
Well, this is where the ignorant politicians really didn't catch the spin on this. If they would have spun it as we were preparing for the magnetized force shield, force field protection of our populace, and you just caught us, in the middle of the project, then it would have been different. Instead, it boils down to they're trying to poison everybody to save $100 a day. What a bunch of cheapskates! But they just spun it wrong. It's all a matter of words, which words you use.
And you being the wordsmith should know this. Yeah, exactly.
It was meant to collect in the atmosphere all those metal parts, but instead the children got concentrations of it. What the heck?
Work in process.
And the force would keep all the children out of Flint. That would be.
to the point that words matter. I got into an online discussion with someone because you always get into online.
Those are so productive.
Yeah, they are, and they don't take up much time at all when you do them. We're talking about how words matter, and using the example of global warming is causing colder winters. Now, you use that phrase, and even people who understand the science, they get this cognitive dissonance that makes their heads explode, right? Global warming is causing colder winters. Well, that's all false. Whereas if you use the right words, if you say, instead of global warming, you say climate change, and instead of colder winters, you say more extreme weather, then you have a phrase that reads, climate change is causing more extreme weather. And whether you agree with that or not, doesn't matter because it is, but those words make sense. You know, they don't fight with each other. Like global warming and colder, temperatures, they fight with each other. If you use the right words, things become more understandable.
Well, although we're not going to have a debate about global warming or weather change, as you say, because that's going to take more than an hour or so to do. However, what we're going to do today is, I know, Mike, you've introduced a couple of new books, which I'm very interested in, and I'm sure our listeners will be interested in too, and that is what the Internet for Seniors. Now, this is not the Internet of Things. This is just talking about Internet. And why do seniors need a book written for them on the Internet?
Have you ever talked with an old person? They need help sometimes. And by old person, to be fair, this book is written, it's endorsed by AARP. And they target anyone aged 50 and they know it no longer stands for the American Association of Retired People. It's just AARP. They took all the words out of it, and they target, as soon as you turn 49 and a half, you start getting the mailings from these folks, right?
So they're calling 50 and over old people?
Yeah. Well, but they're not calling them old people. They have some very specific guidelines. It's interesting. Writing books that get their endorsement, they actually look at the manuscript and they offer some suggestions, and some of them are fine. But the ones I find the most interesting is they don't want to use the word seniors anywhere in the book. We use it in the title.
But you put it in the title.
It's in the title, but within the book, I can't call old farts. I also can't use the word old farts.
You can't use that either. No.
That was my original title for these books was going to be such and such for old farts, and I still contend it would have sold more copies. But I think if you're an old fart, you're not offended by that. I'm an old fart. I'm not offended by that. But we can't use the word seniors. We can't use the word old in the book because they don't want to make people feel old. I had one chapter in the book titled "How to Find Old Friends Online."
Oh no!
Oh, yep, they made us change that. And I was making the point. I'm not talking about old, elderly friends. I'm just talking about friends you've known for a while. There's the different ways you can use the word old, but
that's how you have to say.
You have to go through a book and be like, well, you have to look for elderly legacy software, or just old referring to people.
Well, you can do a global search, obviously, for the word old and then see how it's used.
Which I think is what they do. They've got a certain set of words, the keywords that they search for, and then and then their legal people get in. Oh, you can't do this because of legal things. And I've been fighting with corporate lawyers for 30 years, so I know how to deal with that sort of stuff. But they do want to position their audience not as old people, but as vibrant people who are out doing stuff. And that is certainly the case if you look at people in their 50s, 60s, even 70s these days. I mean, these people are still getting around. My dad's 85, and he's still riding a motorbike around. He crashes it a lot, but he's riding it around.
Yeah, I just watched the news. It's the Guinness World Records. This guy is the oldest living barber. He's 105 years old, and he looks like doesn't look 105.
Yeah, but what do his clients look like?
No, he's right up there.
That's actually a little depressing to me because some people get their hair cut once a month, every 2 months. Some people every 2 weeks if you're really picky about that. I mean, at 105, you have not only people who have been seeing you for, let's pretend he's been doing it his whole life, for 60 years, and suddenly they stop coming in after a few months. You're like, well, we know what happened to them. But then their kids must come in, and sometimes even the kids might have.
And their grandkids and the great-grandkids, yeah.
Like they just stop coming in one day. Like you build up this client base, but I mean, after 80 years, someone has to stop coming in.
Well, but then he keeps up the latest, barber technology, I guess, and he uses the latest devices.
It's their barber. I mean, they use scissors and motorized clippers. They've been using those since I was 3 years old. I don't know.
Pretty much it. And it's still the same. I mean, unless they have a.
Well, I don't want to say that they stop coming in because he's behind the times. I'm saying stop coming in because they kind of croaked.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But you know, I mean, how is the Internet of Things going to affect the barber technology? That's the
Well,
real
the combs could have a USB plug on it.
yeah, smart clippers. I don't know.
I think they should make a brush that you brush your hair, it has sensors in it, and it tells you how long your hair is, and then it schedules you an appointment based on your hair length.
Well, either that or just embed that in your scalp. Either one. I saw something the other day. I watched this Shark Tank show. You guys ever watch this? I think it's on ABC, where people tried to come before Mark Cuban and a bunch of other investors and get money to invest in claptrap ideas. And one was this couple came in and they made this big to do. They always have a pitch, you know, and they had this pitch about how shaving a beard is messy. You know, and the wife complains about little hairs all over the place. My wife's going, yeah, little hairs all over the place, and because I have a beard, I have a goatee, and you know, so they're going to have this invention to take care of little hairs, you know, to get rid of all your little hairs. And I'm thinking in my head, oh, it's like a shaver with a vacuum in it, okay, something like that. That makes sense. Well, instead, what it was this looked like a bib that you put on, and the bottom end of the bib you attached to the mirror in front of you. So this little bib thing just caught all the hairs. It was the lowest tech, most ridiculous looking. I thought it was a joke when I saw it.
Okay.
All this high tech stuff, and basically they were trying to get, I don't know, $100,000 or whatever for these people to invest in a beard bib.
Not many.
Well, a beard bib.
A beard bib, maybe on QVC or the Home Shopping Network or something. I don't know. Because I'm thinking, oh, you get a razor and it's got a vacuum in and it sucks up all the hair. Oh, that's a wonderful idea. I'd buy that, but a beard bib? I wouldn't buy a beard bib.
I mean, I have a vacuum attachment that also doubles as a dog brush, you know, so you can brush your dog's hair out and it sucks it right into the vacuum cleaner. I guess it's the same principle.
Yeah, that would work for a beard. Yeah, sounds good to me. Or you could put a beard bib on your dog.
Yeah. Nothing will help. Ben's dogs shed so much hair, it's enough to make a whole new dog. Every couple of
These
weeks.
things happen.
Yeah, I've got a dog like that too. It's just we've given up. It's just the carpet is
Hair gets there. Yeah, weave it into a carpet. Anyhow, so we started talking about the book for the AARP, the Internet for Seniors.
Oh yeah, why do seniors need books? Well, one, why does anybody need books? They need books because they need help with something, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of the internet, I mean, you and I and your listeners, you know, we've all been on the internet since there's been the internet. We've been on since, you know, the mid 90s or early 90s, if you go back that far. Ben probably hasn't been on that long.
We were there at the start. You and I were there at the start.
Yeah. And I mean, and you think about it now, we're talking about the internet being, what is that? That's at least 20 years ago. At least 20 years ago, it's been around. This is not a new thing anymore.
People, I guess, their first real experience with the internet was what, Explorer 3.1 or something, or Microsoft 3.1.
Even that, or even the Netscape back in the Netscape days, you know, or through AOL or Prodigy. You know, a lot of folks got on the internet.
It's hard to imagine a day when the internet really wasn't that popular. I mean, it may have been around, but it wasn't popular.
Well, I got to tell you, the first internet book I wrote, which was in 92 or 93, somewhere around there, was called Easy Internet. And to go along with the book, we included a diskette, a floppy disk, in the back, which had software to connect your dial-up modem to an ISP somewhere in Seattle, I think it was, because most localities did not have local ISPs at that point in time. I mean, I did a tour to support this book, drew huge crowds. I mean, it drew like, you know, Stephen King-sized crowds, not because of me and how wonderful I am. My ego isn't big enough to imagine that, but because people wanted to know what this internet was. You know, I'd go to the Barnes & Noble in Midtown Manhattan, and we'd have, 200-300 people there to see a demonstration of the internet. Now, I couldn't demonstrate the internet live because it wasn't reliable enough. And in a lot of cases, I didn't have an ISP. So what I did is I basically took a series of screenshots, put it into a PowerPoint presentation, and simulated the internet as I was presenting it to people.
How sad was that? I mean, you couldn't even do a live demo back then.
But you couldn't back then because, one, it was if you could get on at all, it was dial-up.
Right.
And the dial-up was very, very unreliable. But certainly in Midtown Manhattan, I could find an ISP. But if I was giving it to a bookstore in Lincoln, Nebraska, which I did, nothing out there. It had to be simulated at that point in time.
Wow. But you see, even then, early, the writing on the wall was telling you that this was going to be something special. But,
right, and people, so certainly the early adopters, the kids right out of college. I mean, the real early adopters of the internet were college kids. The reason that the internet got into the mainstream is because kids in college in the late 80s, early 90s got used to email on campus and got used to, rudimentary internet connections, playing, whatever, Star Wars games or whatever on computers back then in colleges. Then when they graduated, they still wanted the internet. They still wanted their email. They didn't want to leave that behind. So that really caused a demand for a public internet, which is what we got.
Yeah, because originally a lot of it was in university environments. The schools would have their own, but once you left the school, then you needed to get it.
That's exactly it. So it really was driven by a lot of recent college graduates. And then as more and more people got exposed to it, then it became more and more popular. We got more local ISPs. We now have, what we have now, which is broadband delivered at, with data caps from your cable company or however we get our internet now. So, but the point is, it's been around for a while, but that doesn't mean that everybody's been on it since then. I mean, if you go back to the mid-90s, there were a lot of people in their 40s back then who this was new technology that they didn't need to or want to or have to adopt, people in their 40s and 50s. I mean, because you think about it, most technology kind of starts with the youth and migrates upward. So by the time, if you were in your 40s when the internet came out, or even in your upper 30s, you might not have used it, or, certainly not immediately. So, even today, we're getting a group of people, more older than younger, who just have not used the internet or have not used it much. And they want to know about, how do I get hooked up to the internet? What's a web browser? What can I do on the internet? How do I do it? How safe is it? That sort of thing. So for the people who still have those questions, and there are a surprisingly large number of them, we write our little books.
Wow. All right. So so you have this, and again, the internet for seniors. What is it you tell them in the book?
Well, we kind of start at the beginning. We explain what the internet is, in very rudimentary terms, and we don't go into, IP addresses and all that stuff.
You want to scare them?
No, you don't. You just explain to them how it works. That it's not a network of tubes.
But wait a minute. But haven't we surpassed that yet? Or are we still at that? I mean, you get to a point where up to the where people are changing and kind of dying off and it's getting to the point where most people I don't know are out of an age where the internet has been around long enough to be in there, or are we? Where are we at that point?
Well, you would think we would be, but there's still millions of people who are not connected to the internet at all. Millions more who connect to the internet, but via AOL on dial-up. AOL still has a profitable dial-up connection business, believe it or not. I mean, again, those of us who are talking and listening right now, we've been around it so long, it's second nature to us. And certainly, kids in college and kids in their 20s and 30s, it's second nature to them. But there's still a wide, it's not the majority of people out there for sure, but it's a sizable minority who are not as comfortable with any technology, whether it's the internet or computers. I mean, I did my Windows 10 computer book for seniors also. So
let me ask you this. What year will it be? How far do you project where we're going to get to the point where we won't need this anymore? That everybody's going to, it's like water for seniors. I mean, when is it water? I mean,
I don't know, Craig, because when I was working in the publishing business, and I've been out of the publishing business now for 17 years. I've been a freelance writer for 17 years. So back in the 90s, in the late 90s, as we were putting together our 5-year business plans and stuff, we were saying, there will be a point where people don't need computer books. These things are getting easier to use, and people become more familiar with them. So we're going to, project out there, a decline in sales here, there, and whatever. And where certainly there has been a decline in technology book sales over the past 15 years, it has not declined near as much as we thought it would. We thought that there would not be as much a need for these books, but there still is.
Why? What is it?
Because there are a lot of people there who are not tech savvy and who are not, frankly, interested in technology. They just want to, talk to their friends or watch a movie or whatever it is they're doing. So they're not that interested in technology, but they still have to interact with the technology. And you and I both know that even as good as technology has gotten, it's still glitchy. It still has problems. It still isn't as easy as it should be. So people still need help with it. And when people need help, there are a number of places they can turn, but one place that a lot of people do still turn is to books.
Well, what about? I mean, when was the last time you saw telephones for seniors? Okay.
Well,
Actually, I write a book. I write smartphone books for seniors.
Smartphones. Okay, but all right.
But I mean, Craig, like, unfortunately, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you see this, but the internet really isn't allowing people to die without learning it. Like, you can't be like 70, 80, 90, and nowadays, I mean, you schedule appointments online, you pay your bills online, you contact with friends and family, you socialize online. I mean, like, all this stuff. I think that people are more and more pushing others who maybe don't use the internet. They're like, it seems like seniors may be getting a little bit pushed into, like, they may have no interest, but at this point they kind of have to learn to use it.
Ben, that is an excellent point, and it isn't just friends and family. Hey, you want to see pictures of your cousin's vacation or your nephew's vacation? Well, get on Facebook, okay? You got to get on Facebook, Grandma, to see this stuff. That's one thing. The other thing, though, is that is a lot of just day-to-day interactions. As you mentioned, doctor's appointments. If you've got kids in school and you want to communicate with the teacher and get the class schedule, they only do it online. I mean, my grandkids just had a, what do they call it, a flexible learning day last week, where the school district saves money by not bringing the kids in, but they give them assignments at home. But half the assignments you got to have the internet to do. You got to connect to Schoology, you got to do it on your iPad or whatnot. And you got to get your assignments off the internet. So I don't think you could be a parent today and not be connected to the internet because of kids. But you're right. Whether it's your car, you're getting your car worked on, or your doctor's appointment or whatnot, looking up medications, even refilling prescriptions. A lot of places it's getting difficult to do it. Maybe not impossible, but difficult to do it without the internet. The first choice is, well, go on the internet and look up the form. I was trying to sign up my granddaughter for gymnastics lessons at a place, okay, new place we were going to. And I called them up on the phone. I said, I want to sign up Haley for this lessons. And they said, go to our website. They wouldn't sign me up over the phone. They said, go to our website.
Yeah, but Craig, and that's what I'm saying. It's that, be it 80, 90 year olds, whatever it may be, like, you may think that the last person ever who could possibly not know what the internet is, they may not have any interest, but at this point, the current generation and maybe the generation before us, I mean, they do everything by the internet. So, like, it's not that they don't want, like, if they don't want to use the internet, they can avoid it for a certain amount of time, but at some point, even they have to say, all right, we got to learn how to use this stupid thing, and then they do.
And people who did not grow up with the technology, whatever the technology is, because there's always new stuff coming up, they're just not as familiar with it. I mean, look at, I don't want to be political here, but look at some of the emails that have been recovered from Senator Hillary Clinton, right, from that whole server scandal thing. They've been releasing tens of thousands of emails. I mean, yeah, that you can talk about the top secret and this and that. To me, the most fascinating ones is where she's asking about technology. Like, well, how do I program my DVR? How do I send this on my smartphone? I mean, she's, let's face it, Hillary's what, in her mid-60s, late 60s? I forgot her exact age, but she's somewhere in her 60s. She doesn't know the technology that much. Yeah. She's got to rely on her assistants to help her send emails.
You could send her a copy of your book.
Well, maybe. But honestly, you look on the Democratic side, you've got her and you've got Bernie Sanders, who's what, 72, 74, something like that. I mean, these are people who did not grow up with the internet. They did not grow up with this technology, so it's all still relatively new to them, even though they, obviously are forced to use it in the course of their jobs. It's new to them, and anybody in their 60s, 70s, 80s, it's not something they grew up with. They grew up with rotary phones. They grew up with phone numbers that had letters in them instead of numbers, and they grew up with 4 channels on the TV if they were lucky, if they have TV. Bernie probably grew up listening to the radio, radio serials in the 30s.
So how far back, or how much? Where's the dividing line? Okay, where's the point, the tipping point, where we won't have to, that people will have been grown up with this, or you know what I'm saying, where we won't really need to do this, where people are just going to be, oh, it's.
I don't know, Craig. When's your obituary?
No, that's a fair question because I would think, well, I'm familiar with it, so anybody my age or younger, except I keep running into people my age and younger who aren't that familiar with the technology. I guess the real question is which technology, okay? I'm familiar with the internet. I didn't grow up with it, but I learned it when I was in my early 30s, all right? Obviously, kids, younger than me grew up with the internet, they grew up with email, but you take somebody who's in their late 30s or 40s now, they didn't grow up with social media. So somebody who's in their 40s, what is it? That's Generation X, right? They're internet savvy, they're email savvy, but they're not necessarily social media savvy because they didn't grow up with it. Now, there's a generation behind them, the millennials, who are certainly social media savvy and internet savvy, but they're probably not email savvy because nobody uses email in that generation.
Yeah, see,
but whatever the next thing is, they won't be savvy to that. I mean, there's always a new technology that comes up after you've passed whatever age it is that you quit learning.
But there's a baseline, a foundation, if you will, where you know about the internet now. Rather than none of the deer in the headlights look when you mention the internet. Oh, it's some strange thing. You're going to reach a point where people have a baseline or have a foundation with the internet. Yes, there might be virtual reality here or something new coming down the point, but still they're gonna know enough about it to deal with it. At least that's when what
you would think if they're interested in, because the other component of this equation is how interested they are in it. Do they just use it because they have to? Do they just use it to Facebook with friends and family, or are they really interested in it? Obviously, you and I and Ben and the people listening to the show are interested in technology. Wouldn't be listening to the show otherwise. Yeah. But there are a lot of people there who just don't give a rat's behind about the technology. To them, their computer is like a toaster, and their smartphone is like a toaster. They just want it to work. They don't care about how it works, and if it breaks, and they got to figure something out, they're really out of luck.
Or it's like cars. It's like learning how to drive a car. Oh, we're at the bottom of the hour already. We're going to take a little quick break. Michael Miller is here with us, author extraordinary, and we're going to continue on with them. A brand new News Tips Bulletin review coming up as well. This is the Computer America Show. We'll be right back.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using email, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Pat, she's a self-made stuffer. Hi, Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin review for Computer America. This time, the Maker's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. Getting past the zombie gimmick, Simon Monk's The Maker's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse from No Starch Press is a guidebook to using simple circuits and mostly scavenged parts to make interesting things happen. Many of the projects build on Arduino or Raspberry Pi boards using simple things like microswitches, lights, horns, LEDs, and webcams. With simple stimuli and responses, the controller instructions also stay simple. He even tells how to strip and solder wires. Lost art, right? Bottom line, we can't think of a less stressful way to get into cobbling together cool stuff than the projects that the Maker's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse inspires. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Just checking. Yep, the mic is on. Okay, welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 33 minutes past the hour. We are here all hour with Michael Miller, and we're going over some of the new books that he's writing, and one of them currently is, of course, The Internet for Seniors. And although I guess they don't like to be called seniors, so the internet for those people. And we're talking about just what is exactly covered in this book, because as I'm sure many of our audience, honestly, I'm going to say all of our audience, we've never received an email that said, I'm running dial-up. Can you do more dial-up related content on your show? Most people seem to be up with the times listening to this. But
although we did get an email, from one of our listeners here. He says he's saying, I'm a long-time Prodigy user until they turned the servers off in October of 1999. So
not bad.
Well, I've got one. A friend of mine's father, who's still around. Her mother just passed away, but her father, who's in his late 80s, long time ago, somewhere in the 1990s, I don't even remember when, I wrote a book about web TV. If anybody even remembers this.
Yes, I remember web TV. Yeah. Wasn't that Microsoft?
Microsoft bought the web TV at one point. Yeah, but
yes,
they were an independent company to begin with.
Yes.
And they let you essentially connect to the internet over your TV.
I had that.
And now we're connecting the internet to our TVs to do different things. So I mean, what the heck? It comes full circle. Yeah. But in terms of writing that book, one of the box manufacturers, maybe it was Philips, I'm not sure. There were a couple of companies making the web TV boxes back then, gave me like a half dozen boxes for review. And you know how I sometimes get stuff for review. Now, what in the world am I going to do with a half dozen web TV boxes? Okay. But I gave one to my friend to give to her father, because at the time he was in his 60s. And was not connected to the internet, didn't know what it was about, and web TV, frankly, was an easier way to do it. My father was connected through web TV for the longest time, but in addition to giving the boxes, they gave him a free subscription to web TV, which they never turned off. Sometimes we get review copies and they turn on a subscription for it. This one they never turned it off. So as long as web TV was in existence, my friend's father got free web TV up until a couple of years ago. I mean, it shut off very, very late. So then when he did get cut off from his free web TV, which was connected no doubt to his 25-inch RCA console sitting in the middle of his living room, early American style, I believe, then I had to deal with, okay, now we got to get him on the real internet, and how do we do that? And he's in his 80s now. And so yeah, I talk to people, I get letters from people, I've gone to conventions, snowbird conventions and stuff like that. And there are a lot of older people who did not grow up with this technology. And they have basic questions like, okay, well, what do I need to do to get this in my home? Mm-hmm. And that isn't always the easiest question to answer if you've got choice between DSL and cable, and how does it come, or even fiber optic, and how do you get it connected, and what's the right speed, and what's a good deal, and what isn't a good deal? Do I need the bundle? So we talk everything from that to all the things you can do on the internet. Choosing a web browser, doing email, of course, doing social networking, that's a whole big part, doing internet banking, certainly what scams to be aware of, and phishing, and all this, stuff to avoid. So there's enough to fill up 300 pages in the book, for sure, and could have done more.
Yeah. What's another, I have to say, when I hooked up we purchased about a month ago our smart TV for the home here, because the price was just too good to ignore. I have to say, setting that up was a breeze. I mean, it almost set itself up. The way they had it structured and the way it is. I mean, it found the Wi-Fi. It did all that for you pretty much automatically without even hooking a cable to it. We didn't do any of that stuff. And so they are getting better in getting these things to integrate. But
Oh, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, it used to be when I would write my books about computers and the internet, and we got to the networking chapter, okay?
Yeah.
This used to be like a 75-page chapter and required a degree in, network engineering in order to do it. And not that long ago, I mean, I'm talking 6, 8 years ago, it was difficult to set up a home network.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since then, the hardware manufacturers have really worked to make it easier. In fact, a lot of the internet service providers today make it even easier by giving you a gateway device that's got the router and the modem and all together in one device, so you don't even have to have two devices talking to each other. But it is a lot easier today. I mean, what used to be, I'm not exaggerating, a 60-page or so chapter is now about a 5-page chapter in the book because they've made it that much easier.
I could say the same thing hooking up the Nest camera in our home, a camera in our home too. It was a piece of cake. It was literally. It almost connected itself. You just had to provide the minimum amount of information for it, and it did everything else for you. So.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have a whole lot of troubleshooting information that used to get into doing IP addresses and whatnot on your network. And if somebody would ask me that kind of question today, I'd have to go to one of my books to look up the answer because you don't have to deal with that stuff much anymore. It works a whole lot better than it used to.
Thank goodness, too.
Yeah, and because of that, it's become more widespread. It's no problem, for your aunt or uncle to hook up a home network now without your assistance. Before they'd have to call you in and spend the whole weekend there dialing and stuff. But now it is easier, and so it's become more widespread, and that's good. Everybody benefits from it.
We've been down this part, but I remember having to hook a serial or a parallel printer to a computer. That was a nightmare. Getting out, now hooking up, with printers now, you don't have to put a wire to them. They're just, so peripherals interfacing to computers. I think it's sort of like are synonymous to what we're talking about here. I mean,
but it changes the book content. I mean, in the old days, not being that long ago, I would have huge sections in my computer books about adding peripherals, which involved taking the case off the computer, hooking up the grounding strap, sliding a card in and out, and all that stuff. And now it's basically hook it up to a USB port.
And you don't even do that. You don't even have to do that either. So
in some cases you don't, because with wireless stuff. But in general, with any peripheral now, it's like whatever. Don't bother opening up the case. I don't even tell people, to open up the case anymore. It's just like plug it into a USB port. If you don't have enough USB ports, buy a USB hub. You're done. Fine.
Yeah. And therein lies what the popularity of all-in-one computers. We're seeing more and more. I mean, Ben still likes the case, the tower model, and everything. But we're finding more and more all-in-ones and laptops and portables. Because you don't really have to open them up anymore.
Well, let's face it, a notebook computer is an all-in-one computer, right? So an all-in-one desktop is just a notebook that is really big and you can't fold up and carry around with you.
Right.
But it's the same. But it's really the same theory. With a notebook, what can you upgrade on a notebook? On some of them you can still upgrade the memory, but not on all of them anymore, and that's about it. You can't add a new graphics card. At least internally you can't. You can add external peripherals. And guess what? Most people don't want to do that stuff. If we were still living in the age where, we had to carry a writing mechanic along with us, whenever we took a trip in our car, there'd be fewer people driving cars. And it's the same with computers. They've made them easy enough now, and have been for some time, that, any Joe Schmo can use a computer without worrying too much about it, right? Now, things still break and people still get infected with viruses and hard drives still crash and all that. But in general, they're easy to use. And your smartphone's easy to use and your tablet's easy to use, and that's great. Now, as newer technologies come along, they're maybe not as easy to use. Probably one of the more exciting newer technologies is the smart home technology. And by golly, we're back in the age of the writing mechanic again when you're looking at that stuff, if you're trying to get this light bulb to talk to this thermostat to talk to your dishwasher, we're back in the age of IP addresses and home networking.
No. What? We take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and sounds like.
Well, but that's the nature of the way things work. I mean, you've got to. Okay, we're dealing with, just as in the early years of computers and the internet, you're dealing with multiple conflicting, competing, incompatible technologies. Mm-hmm. You've got various wireless standards that you're using in smart home networking. This one talks to this one, but this one doesn't talk to this one. This one might talk to these some of the time, and until things become more standardized, which you and I as consumers can do nothing at all about that other than try and deal with it. But until the big manufacturers, standardize their communications protocols, it's going to be the wild, wild west out there. Now, how long does it take them to get things standardized? Who knows? Could be a year or two, could be 5 years, could be 10 until they get smart about it. But they're working on it. They know that's a problem, but nobody's going to give ground. If you own a particular technology, you don't want to, just say, okay, we're going to use this other company's technology too. You're invested in that as a company. So you got range wars. Like I said, it's the wild, wild west. You got range wars going on. You got the farmers versus the cattlemen and the townspeople and all that. And at some point, John Wayne will come through and make it all better.
Yeah. Well, and we're living right in the middle of it.
and we're always living right in the middle of something, which is the cool thing, right? We lived through the personal computer revolution. You and I have, Craig, anyway. We have lived through the internet, and Internet 2.0 and Internet 3.0, whatever. We've lived through smartphones and tablets. Now we're going to have to live through, smart homes. And so these, millennials who are familiar with computers and familiar with the internet and familiar with smartphones and familiar with social networking, they're not going to be familiar with smart homes.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that's really going to gel when they're in their 30s and later. So this is going to be new technology and unfamiliar technology to them. Their children, unborn children at this point, when they come along, they're going to be very familiar with smartphones. They're going to say, why does anybody need a book about smartphones, smart homes? Because it works, But, to their parents and their grandparents and their great-grandparents are going to say, oh, man, I don't understand this stuff. I got to read up about it. And so there's always a book market or a help market for something out there. It's just, I'm writing about different stuff today than I wrote about 20 years ago, and that's the way it is.
I gotta say though, it does help with the Internet of Things and smart homes and that kind of thing. Technology is getting pushy in that it's starting to invade more and more fields. Like I have a friend, he's young like myself, but he works with ACs, and all that kind of thing. But he probably knows more about the technology of smart homes than I do because he gets called out to jobs in people's homes, and they have him install these things for him. Like it's not just IT professionals and people like that had to deal with the computers and how to set them up and the internet and blah blah blah. But the internet is starting to it's definitely used in automotive. It's used in home systems. It's used for cooking. I mean, technology is in each individual field is kind of advancing its own way.
So it's your AC friend that needs to learn about things like the Nest or thermostats that are
right.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then
and there's always the smart home thing is kind of breaking down to a lot of different markets. I mean, there are the people who are the really would have been the techie computer people 25 years ago who are into the maker market now, and they're really piecing together technology and building their own smart home stuff. Then they're just normal consumers. I mean, my one of my stepdaughter's boyfriends is equipping his home with all LED lights and is getting into the operating the lights with smart home technology. Now, he's not a techie. I mean, he works on carburetors and snowmobiles, but he's interested enough in that he's attempting it. Running into a lot of headaches, but he's attempting that. But he's not a techie in the way that that we were techies. It's just something that he thinks is what he wants to do in his house. You've got the people with lots of money who are going the whole home route. Not just the Nest thermostats, but the whole bit. Right. And then at the real high end, you got the $5,000 internet refrigerators and all this stuff. So there's stuff hitting from $5 or $2 light bulbs on up to $5,000 refrigerators. There's a whole wide expanse of things coming into the home that people at different levels can take advantage of if they want to. Or they can be like me, and I go into the store and I say, oh, look, I can buy an LED light bulb for $5, or I can buy a box of regular light bulbs, 4 in a box for $1. Which am I going to buy? So I don't have a lot of LED light bulbs, even though theoretically they would be cool. But I got a big house and I got a lot of light bulbs, and it would bankrupt me to turn this home all over to LED smart lighting right now.
I would say do it one bulb at a time. So at that point, because then eventually it's going to pay for itself because that one light bulb is going to last.
Oh, but you'll look silly. You'll look silly with half and half.
Yeah. My OCD would kick in. I've got 3 lights outside, out by my garage. I had porch light things, and 2 of them are one color white, and one's a slightly yellower white, and I get itches up my spine every. time I drive home.
Well, they have the LEDs now where they can switch colors, so you can match the color of the.
Yeah,
LED.
and those aren't the $2 LED light bulbs. Those are the one on the top rack with the the very expensive packaging.
Yeah.
But they're cool, and those are the ones that you can operate from your smartphone, because I want to go around changing the color of the lighting in my home via my smartphone. I got nothing better to do with my
Well, that's the other thing. Where does it become practical, and where does it become just silly?
Well, to me, it's practical when you don't have to deal with it. To me, that's one of the great promises of the Internet things, is it takes a lot of the mundane away from us. That, I don't have to bother with, did I, turn off the light in this room? Did I lock the front door? Do I need to change the temperature or whatnot? Yeah. Those mundane decisions, it takes care of those for me, and I like that. That's a good thing. Now, if I'm just sitting there twiddling with, I want to slightly change the color temperature of the light bulbs above the fireplace, that is going in the opposite direction. That's putting more mundane stuff on me, and that's not, that isn't a smart home. That's a more involved, complicated home to me.
Yeah. Unless you're retired or just have
or you're a kid out of college and it's cool. I mean, and that's the other thing, and that's where computers first started. When personal computers first came out, in the 70s, and like with the Commodore 64 and the VIC 20 and the TI 9000 or 9900 or whatever it was, that the normal human beings would say, well, so what does it do? So it adds up these two numbers. I can do that with a pencil and paper. Yeah. Why are you spending all this time writing a program to average three numbers?
Right. Or balance your checkbook was another popular answer.
Yeah.
That's what you could use. Well, no, I'll use a pencil and I'll use a ledger.
And it's true. At that point in time, it would be ridiculous if you bought a computer to do those things. But you bought the computer. I mean, that was justification, maybe rationalization. You did it because it was fun and it was interesting, and maybe you learned something from it, but you were just interested in that sort of thing. And I think there's some aspect of the smart home market today in that it is ridiculous that you can change the color temperature of your light bulbs. Nobody needs to do that or wants to do it, but it is kind of interesting. It is kind of fun to a certain type of person. I'm going to say mainly younger people, but not necessarily younger people, but people of that bent, the people who may have been assembling their own computers 25 years ago, are maybe getting involved in the smart home stuff today.
Yeah, because that's the next kind of tinker. It's for the tinkerers, and there will always be tinkers in whatever generation, and people like to tinker, or get under the hood, but you don't have to be a mechanic to drive a car, and you don't have to be a tinkerer to turn your light bulbs on and off.
No.
My wife would always go, look here, I switch on, off, on, off. That's all I want.
And then she says, that's nice, dear.
Yeah, that's it, because but you can do this and you can do no, on, off. That's all she wants.
Now you talk about I'm going to make a big jump here on smart technology, because I know you've done some shows about CES. My favorite thing to come out of the CES was the human-sized drone aircraft. A Korean company has made a drone that can carry a person, and it's completely computerized. I mean, you go in and sit down in this thing, and you punch in on your smartphone where you want to go. It figures out the coordinates, press a button, and you lift off like you were a mouse on a regular drone, and you lift off, and it flies you there. Now, obviously, there's all sorts of permissions and logistical stuff. I mean, it's not ready for market yet. But I think that's a fascinating next step in human transportation. It's kind of the Uberization. I mean, it's beyond Uber, and it's in the sky, and it's like I finally get my personal airplane, or whatever it is. I think that was just the coolest, proof of concept, I guess, that I saw coming out of CES.
Yeah.
I didn't see that on display. I covered that place. I didn't see that on display, but the amount of showroom floor that drones had. I mean, drones are right now. They have this whole fight with the FAA, and if they need to be registered, and by the way, you do need to get them registered. What size they do, just what they can do, not just for surveillance or taking pictures, but there were so many companies that see so many different applications for drones that the Internet of Things is one thing, but just as big is the implications of drones and just what they're going to do. I mean, they're going to be used from everything from emergency services to delivery to maybe even people transportation. Drones are going to be everywhere.
Yeah. And drones are part of the Internet of Things. I did a book last year called The Internet of Things, most imaginative title we've ever put on one of my books, but it tells what it is. And I put a chapter in there on the Internet of Things in the air. I did like a military chapter and a non-military chapter. And in terms of consumer drone technology, or even commercial drone technology, utilizing a lot of IoT technology in it, for navigation to keep them from flying into each other and that sort of thing, it's going to be huge. I mean, one of the few things holding it back right now is the fact that we regulate airspace. And as you mentioned, Ben, now if you buy a drone, what is it? It's over a certain weight, I think it is. You've got to register it with the FAA. Anything under that, you don't have to.
It's like anything over like a pound to 55 pounds.
But we're going to see delivery by drone, and that's not that far off now. I mean, where you pick up the phone, or you just push a button literally, or on your smartphone, whatever. You push a Tide button or something, and that little drone's going to come by and drop off a package of Tide at your front door. I mean, we're getting to that point where that's going to happen.
And we will finally understand how Santa does it on Christmas Eve. He himself does not slide down the chimney. The drone the drone reindeer sleigh hovers over the chimney, drops your packages down the chimney.
Down the chimney, right? Exactly.
That's how it's been done all these years. Santa's just way ahead of us on the technology curve.
Rudolph technology did sound like LED.
Well, he did, yeah.
That's a good catch.
Yeah, it wasn't CFL on his nose. Would have taken too long to light up. But
it was LED.
And been dangerous to the environment also. But you're right about drone delivery and drone human delivery, which is this big thing that I saw. Literally, it's just a giant quadcopter with a seat in it for a person, and I hope it has a seatbelt. And and you don't have to own it. Again, here's where it's playing on the Uber end of things, is that you need to go from point A to point B. You need to go to your office. You need to go wherever. You just punch in your smartphone to whatever company it is who's running it. You wait a few minutes. This big quadcopter lands on your front yard. You jump in, tell it where you're going, and it takes you there. It's talk about revolutionizing transportation. I think that would just be super cool. Super cool.
You wouldn't have to deal with rush hour traffic anymore.
Other than the rush hour traffic would now be in the air.
Well, that could be dangerous.
Yeah, and unless they get the technology right and the things communicating with each other, you really don't want an increase in mid-air collisions.
No, you don't.
When it comes to having a fender bender at the local roundabout down here down the street, or having a mid-air collision with another Uber drone, 2,000 feet in the air, I'm going to take the fender bender in the roundabout.
Yeah, survival is a lot more higher.
But in my head now, all I imagine is like new clothing comes with little hooks that kind of dangle off your back, and drones just kind of, and like you kind of tell it where you're going, and drones just kind of come by, pick you up, and just kind of like a sack of potatoes and just carry.
Well, that would be the low-priced value budget service, right? But you want a seat? That's our luxurious service. But otherwise you're right. They're just being picked up and hauled away on a meat hook.
We call those.
But it costs less, so we're going to put up with that. All right.
They call those budget drones.
Yeah. Now, you start thinking about, okay, there's obviously money to be made in the drone market, but what about subsidiary markets? And I'm thinking, if they're going to be carrying people up there in drones, I want to get into the parachute market. I think airbag manufacturers, they're going to go out of business. They're going to be like buggy whips. But parachutes, I think there's going to be a huge boom in the personal parachute market. You heard it here first, boys and girls.
Exactly.
But you definitely are hitting on something, even though we did get a little fantastic there, where technology, it over the past decade or two, I mean, it's accelerated like crazy. If you haven't been keeping up with it, then you can easily, not pay attention for 3 years, and then everything's changed. But going into the future, technology is going to be changing not just technology, but more things, including transportation, personal defense, like just things like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. You go back 10, 20 years and how things have changed, but you turn on the TV and X-Files is still on. So what in the world happened there?
Yeah, I caught that Sunday night, by the way, and it's coming again Monday too. Exactly.
I tuned in for it, and there were a bunch of guys playing football, so I got.
Well,
confused.
you say what the heck is up with that, but I mean, it is changing. The Nielsen rating, love them or hate them, those are changing like crazy.
Yeah, exactly. But and of course people have DVRs and then they throw a football game in there. It kind of throws everything off. But hey, we're almost out of time here, Mike. I know that you only going to be here with us for the first hour. So tell us a little bit about the books that are coming out that people should look for.
The next book that will be on the shelf, well, the last book that came out was called My Social Media for Seniors. It's available now. Coming in a couple weeks, actually, will be My Internet for Seniors. After that, I've got some video projects that are in the works. They'll be coming out in a month and a half or two. First one is SEO, search engine optimization for small businesses, if you're into that sort of thing. And if you're into music at all, I've got a new edition of my Idiot's Guide to Music Theory, my best-selling book of all time, coming out in a couple months. That one will be out. So
because it never changes, right? I mean, the internet doesn't affect music theory.
I tell you, it was real. You do a new edition of a computer book, and it's easy to make changes and make it different. With the music theory book, it was a struggle to add new material to it. It was really kind of adding on to stuff. It wasn't that, all of a sudden there's a new C major scale. It's new and improved. It's got a flat in it, But no, music theory is music theory, but we try and cover it a little bit more in the new edition of the book. Go a little further with it for people.
There you go. Okay. And again, they can get these books where?
Hopefully at your local peanut vendor or online. You can go to my website, millerwriter.com. And all the new books will be listed there, and you can click a link, and it'll take you somewhere to buy something.
And, of course, you go to computeramerica.com. Right there on the homepage, we have a link to Mike's website, millerwriter.com, and you can check it out for yourself.
And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I am Molehill Group on Twitter. I am. IR Molehill.
Yeah, I am.
I shall always have been Molehill Group on Twitter.
I am Molehill Group, therefore I am. Exactly. Yes. Well, listen, I'm so glad that you've had the warmer weather up there in Minneapolis.
Yeah, you suckers with snow. That's what we get every year. Buy a snowblower.
Yeah.
Get a shovel. Don't complain.
Hey, it was a pleasure having you here, Mike, and I know you'll be back from time to time over the months. We'll certainly look forward to having you back with us on the program.
Yep, always fun talking with you and talking to your audience.
Absolutely. All right. Again, thanks so much, Mike. Take care. Have a great rest of the month, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Right if you get work.
All right. Take care.
Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Coming up next, we're going to have computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They are the official optimization software of Computer America. Ben, I assume we have some interesting stories to talk about.
We do indeed.
All right. Well, we're going to take just a short break, and then we'll get into that. You're listening to the Computer America Show. We've got another brand new news test bulletin review coming up as well. Stay tuned for more Computer America.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into hour 2 of the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And we just had Mike Miller here on the program. And if you missed any portion of that, you can listen to it again. We archive all of our shows at ComputerAmerica.com. And that's just good for all of our programs. Just head over to our website, click on the archives page, archives menu, and you can see the archives page where you can listen to the show and watch a show. We archive it all at ComputerAmerica.com. So your link to what it is that we do here on Computer America. So Mike will be back with us in the months to come. I know he's right now he's kind of busy with all these new books that he's introducing, so it won't be on a monthly basis, but we will certainly have him on. Interesting note here for those of you looking at our web calendar. We haven't put it up yet. Epson was scheduled to be on the show this Thursday. They cannot be on the show, but we're going to have someone who's been on the hasn't been on the show for a while, but we're going to have him on Thursday. Charles Tendell is going to be here.
Definitely a fan favorite.
Yeah, exactly. Certified ethical hacker, fun guy. It's been a while since he's been on the show, so he's going to be joining us on Thursday for both hours. Computer. Just just heard that, and so we are looking forward to having him here on the program. So, anything else you want to talk about, Ben? Otherwise, we're going to get right into the news portion of the program.
No. I think we can jump right into that, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Okay, let's do it. Computer news. Let's do it. Today's computer and technology news is brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. You can visit them at slimwareutilities.com to clean, speed up, and optimize your Windows system. Slimwareutilities.com. Check them out. They really do clean, speed up, and optimize your Windows system. We use them here. They will make your experience with Windows 10 so much more enjoyable. For example, their privacy feature now configures Windows 10 to the privacy settings that you want to engage rather than what the defaults to, because privacy settings are in so many different modules of Windows 10. It's just one of the many things that they do for you, and we highly recommend them. It'll make your life a lot simpler. Check it out, slimwareutilities.com. You'll be happy that you did, and you'll thank us for it.
Right. And so for the first story that we're going to do, Craig, I'm going to need you to go to our list.
Mm-hmm.
And the very last story, this one from Motherboard.
Okay.
There's a video there, and I want you to play that in the background while we do the story.
Okay.
Because it is hilarious.
Okay, this is the one where the copyright rule.
Yep.
Okay, I will do that while you start that up. Okay.
All right. So Craig has that playing in the background. And yeah, so this is a story from, again, Vice and their Motherboard, which is their technology division. And this is from Rachel Pick, but I've seen it in a couple of the places, and it's a pretty funny way. Yeah, turn down the volume so it's like half volume or something like that. Or yeah. But okay, so you're gonna hear this kid. He's gonna be doing some little that kind of deal. And this is for a very particular reason. This kid's name is Guitar Hero Failure. That's his YouTube channel if you want to go check him out. But as many of you know, YouTube has very strict copyright rules. And they have a robot kind of deal that will go out and scan YouTube videos for copyrighted material, including videos and, of course, audio. There is a game called Guitar Hero. I'm sure many of you are familiar. It's very, very popular. And if you can hear him in the background, that was his workaround. So Guitar Hero Failure is actually very, very good at what he does. And there's a song called Bark at the Moon by, of course, Ozzy Osbourne, 1983. It's by many considered a classic, but he wanted to show off his 100% playthrough of Guitar Hero of Bark at the Moon. Well, he uploaded it with audio intact and everything because, that's what you're playing, and so you should upload as much as you can. And it was immediately taken down by YouTube because of the copyright by Ozzy Osbourne. It's not like they saw him out or anything like that. It was just automatically detected and, of course, taken down. So his workaround is he does the little things that you hear in the background, the little wah-wahs, with his mouth that are in time with the song. While I don't think it's going to fill up a stadium full of people like Ozzy Osbourne is, known to do, I think it's pretty funny and captured just what he was trying to do. And the video itself is very, very impressive as him playing through the game. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Where someone has found a workaround for YouTube's rather ever surveilling copyright infringement tool, and that is to reproduce a song with your own mouth.
And lawyers going to have a field day with that one, I think, or not actually.
No, they won't. Honestly, the copyright restrictions that YouTube has, they're overzealous, probably because YouTube is so large, and you don't want to be chasing down these cases every single day. So you set them as very, very strict. But no one's going to come after this kid for playing Guitar Hero.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's interesting. It's fun. Okay. people finding workarounds. That was very clever. Very clever of him, I thought. The iPhone 6s has been out now for what? Since September. So it's
About 4 months.
4 months, right? Well, evidently, and I saw this on a TV news story too. Evidently, there's rumors that Apple might come back with a 4-inch iPhone. 4-inch. That's like what. That's like the 5S that you have. The 5, the 5S, the 4. That's the form factor. Is the 4-inch screen, because some people say, oh well, maybe the screens are too big. Everything's big. You know, the 6S and the 6S Plus, which is even bigger. Apple might be coming with an economic version of the iPhone, and they're saying it'll have a 4-inch screen. So evidently, they now this is still all a rumor. They may be working on such a phone for a March unveiling. This is according to a tech blog, 9 to 5 Mac, which has a really good reputation for reliability. And they're saying the model could be called the iPhone 5SE. Okay.
5SE, as in the 5S Extra? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the point is here, Apple's meeting its customers' demands for larger screens. But they say that some people want a smaller screen. And if they do, though, here's the thing, because Apple's declining to comment, of course, about all of this. But one of the things that it's going to be more economical. So it won't have certain features, like it's not going to have the 3D touch. You know, when you press something, it's not going to have that. That's what they're saying. It does include a curved glass edges like the iPhone 6 phones. It has the same 8 megapixel, 1.2 megapixel camera as the iPhone 6 has. Okay. It will also have support for Apple Pay and live photos. So that's nice.
Although honestly, those seem like software updates more than hardware updates.
That's true. Well, no, but those Apple Pay dofinitely has NFR. It has you have to have the hardware in that to do it.
Yeah, the little NFC antenna.
Right, exactly.
Not much.
But it will use the iPhone 6 processor. That's the A8 and the M8, and it'll be the same price as the current iPhone 5S. Okay, and they're saying it will be at either March or April. Also, in the March launch, new Apple Watch styles are going to be out. There's going to be new band styles, new materials. There's going to be a software update for the Apple Watch. And they're saying a full redesign of the Apple Watch by the end of 2016, which means probably it'll be smaller or certainly thinner. I'm going for thinner because
a lot of people are like, I don't know about thinner. That seems to be Apple's thing, but I mean, people really don't care about thinner at this point. You know, most people think that they've got it, thin enough. But what a lot of people are postulating is that essentially it's going to be an Apple 5S, an iPhone 5S, but with the Apple 6 guts inside of it. So the Apple 6 processor, the iPhone 6 processor, the iPhone 6 memory, everything just kind of crammed into a smaller area. So like they're essentially taking things that they already know how to do, which is create the 4-inch case, and then taking things that they currently do, which is, the new hardware, and stuffing it all into a smaller area for, those rare folks who don't want the phablet.
That's true. And they're making it small so you can put it into your shirt pocket or something.
Unfortunately.
But when I first saw the 6 and the 6 Plus, I thought they were, big. But I had to say, after using the 6S for a short period of time, now when I look at the 5, or the 4 phone, it does seem too small, much smaller. And I kind of like the larger screen, especially since the phone is thinner. It's less bulky. And it does still fit easy. Now the 6S or the 6S Plus the 6S Plus would be too big for the shirt pocket, but the 6S or the 6
you're such a small use case that I don't even think our audience has the metrics to measure how
I don't know
big of a deal that you're talking about is.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Such a small use case.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see what. Am I going to go to like High Fashion Week in New York and see like, and now it comes with a sporty shirt pocket to keep your phone in? What? No. No. Okay, so here is a fun factoid that we actually it was actually on the list last week, but we didn't get a chance to cover it. So I felt like bringing it back, and this one is actually about Google. And you think, oh, Google, they're doing stuff. They do their thing. They play their games. But here's some numbers from Google. Google, back in 2015, last year, blocked over 780 million bad ads.
Wow.
And you got to expect it from the largest ad purveyor in the world. So, this is, of course, an article from Maxim PC, Paul Lilly, and, he kind of starts off by saying, like it or not, ads are a large reason why much of the content you see on the web is free. And of course, maybe that will change because right now ads are unfortunately not the best return on investment. Mm-hmm. So, that's why we offer a couple other packages here on the show. But be that as it may, it's not an excuse to let so-called bad ads run amok or at all. And Google says it shut down hundreds of millions of them last year. They have a quote here from Google saying that some ads are just plain bad, like ads that carry malware, cover up content you're trying to see, or promote fake goods. Bad ads can ruin your entire online experience, a problem that we take very seriously. That's why we have a strict set of policies for the kind of ad businesses can run with Google, and why we've invested in sophisticated technology and a global team of 1,000 people dedicated to fighting bad ads.
Over 1,000 people just looking for bad ads.
Right. So, and of course, and what of those that run afoul of Google's policies? And Google said that it has disabled more than 780 million ads last year alone, and that's most yet of any given year. And not surprisingly, it's a number that continues to grow.
That 780 million sounds like a large number, but quite frankly, I would think it's a paltry number compared to the amount of bad ads that are out there circulating. Continue. It's sort of like spam. It's just getting millions of these things every minute are going out there.
Well, yeah, and here's some perspective where let's say that you spent 1 second on every ad. Google said that it would take 25 years at 1 second an ad to see all of the ads that they blocked. And of course, ads laced with malware obviously draw the attention of Google's ban hammer first, but they're not the only kind of stuff that gets snuffed out. Google also keeps a lookout for fraudulent ads that make false claims, such as those related to weight loss, and of course, phishing ads and pharmaceuticals and counterfeit products. So, and of course, Google has said that it has cracked down on trick-to-click ads, which I think are some of the worst because, it's like, click the X here to exit out, and that X is actually just, further into the ad or wherever it's trying to direct you. Those trick-to-click are some of the worst, and it's good to see Google is trying to crack down on those as well.
I mean, when you see an ad pop up, your first thing is, click the X to close it. Well, guess what? The X to close it really isn't the X to close it. It's something that takes you in even further. It's really, really bad.
Right.
So you wonder, how do you close it when you have to go and if the window is selected, go to
and then there's also some that, the pop-up looks like, a system warning or something like that.
Yeah.
From your, from whatever blocking software you have, and it tricks you to, click here to dismiss or whatever. And again, it takes you further into the ad. So, Google is definitely working to crack down on those as well. So, Google says that it's planning a few updates for 2016, and there will be a few more restrictions on allowable ads. But suffice to say, if you think, wow, why doesn't Google do something about this? 780 million says that they are.
Very good. Well, it's nice to know that we have all those people, over 1,000 people working on this too.
1,000 people, but even even at 1,000+ people, that still works out to something like, I don't know, 750,000 ads a person, which, divide that by 365 days. Google has some sort of automation running to block those ads, and I'm sure that those 1,000+ people are simply there to deal with the dispute claims, where it says, your ad was illegally taken down. If you'd like to dispute it, click here. I'm sure that's what those 1,000 people are there for, to help with those disputed claims.
All right. Well, good.
It's not like they've employed 1,000 people and say, yeah, that's a good ad, that's a bad ad, that's a good ad. No, Google is well known for their automation tricks.
Yeah. And they have well over 1,000 people working on it.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Paul Lilly and Maximum PC. Evidently, his story just came out 3 hours ago. Microsoft has taught Cortana to poke her nose into emails to set reminders. In other words, helping you to keep your commitments. According to the story, he says, little by little, Microsoft is expanding Cortana's digital assistant, its Cortana digital assistant, to do new things in Windows 10. One of those new things is the ability to scan your emails for certain phrases, ones that might indicate a reminder would be helpful as one. And according to The Verge, it's part of a new commitment option in Cortana for Windows 10 that's available to Windows insiders. It's not all that different than flight and delivery tracking, both of which Cortana already does. Okay, but in this case, Cortana will set reminders to help you keep your commitments that you might have promised, like telling your boss you'll have that financial report ready by Thursday. Cortana will look at that email and say, oh, would you like me to remind you on that? And so basically, Cortana will look for emails where you've said you're going to do something. Okay, and it recognizes that, and then will act accordingly on that without you having to actively set a schedule for Cortana. She'll kind of infer that from what it is that you've typed. Now, the email scanning for commitments is performed on a local level. So data only gets sent to Microsoft if you choose to add a reminder for a particular commitment or event. And on the flip side, if you're worried about the functionality being abused and pushing aside your privacy, you can disable the feature altogether, and Cortana won't peek at your emails at all. So according to them, you have full control over that.
Which is an ongoing theme with Microsoft, and be it for good or for bad, that I bet this is going to be a feature that is turned on by default, but that seems to be Microsoft's game, where they turn all these, I would go so far as to call them intrusive, but they're just things that the system needs to know about, including like location services for a desktop computer and things like that. They're going to turn all these information sucking options on, and then they're going to, of course, be able to use those for all the apps and stuff and all the integration that they've built in. And and then hopefully you don't notice and you like it and you keep using the service, or you can go in and turn them all off, because again, they're on by default, and then you won't be able to use half the services. Be that good, be that bad, I don't know, but
well, I bet you our friends over at Slimware Utilities are going to add this into their privacy tools.
One would hope so.
Yeah, so that they'll say, would you like Cortana to read your emails so that she can remind you on certainly based upon what it is that you're typing. If you find that attractive, great. If not, turn it off. I don't know if it's going to default to being on, but again, Microsoft defaults a lot of the stuff on because I guess the mindset is, well, how are they going to know we've added this if we don't at least get a chance to show it to them? If it's turned off,
because it's much easier to get people to participate if it's an opt-out than an opt-in. Mm-hmm. Opt-in gets dismally abysmal return rates, whereas opt-out, very, very few people take the time to actually, go into the settings and change those settings by hand. So
now here's just look, this is one way that Microsoft is working to make Cortana more than a novelty or an afterthought. Okay. According to the story, Paul says it's in addition to helping you remember commitments, the new version released in the latest Insider build alerts you if you receive a meeting request that runs outside the times you normally schedule meetings. So let's say you leave after 5 o'clock, and someone tries to set a meeting for 5:30. Cortana will say, "Oh, hey, someone wants to set a meeting, but that's after work hours. Do you want to still take it?" According to the story article, also both features are available now to Windows insiders for testing before rolling it out to the general public. Are you a Windows insider, Ben?
I'm not.
Okay. So anyway, more interesting stuff coming to Cortana for you to look at.
Again, they're doing their darndest, and as they should be, to get Cortana to be the all-encompassing digital assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another step in that direction, where she reads your emails and makes you appointments. It seems good, but I mean, honestly, Google crawls your email already, probably, if you use Gmail. Yahoo, if you use anything, Yahoo. It's not uncommon for companies to scour the information in your email, but it sounds like Microsoft is trying to find a way to get access to that same information. We live in a day and age where information is valuable.
Yeah, well, it's the information era. There's no question about that.
Right.
Okay.
So, well, I guess if you're done with that one, the next story is exactly information. And this one also about Microsoft, where this time it was Microsoft sharing a bit too much information that was getting a lot of people into trouble. This has to do with Skype. And this is from Ars Technica, came out a couple days ago, but it's still very important. I wanted to put it out there, where Skype will hide IP addresses by default, protecting gamers everywhere. So yeah, and the communication software has been widely blamed for enabling denial of service attacks. And this was a huge, huge problem where, well, let's just go with the article and then we'll elaborate. Where Microsoft has rolled out a new version of the desktop Skype client that should make its users, that should make users of its service a little safer from denial of service attacks. The Skype client has long leaked IP address information, allowing other users on the network to determine which IP address is being used by the account. A number of online services of various degrees of shadiness offer instant IP address lookups, and historically, at least, these have worked effectively. As in, all you need is someone's Skype ID or Skype name, and you can look up their address simply from their Skype username, and you can take it to a website, put it in, blah, 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 and out would pop an IP address. And this leakage has been particularly widely abused in gaming communities. Many professionals in Dota 2 games last year were disrupted by denial of service attacks, and players were forcibly disconnected from the game, causing their team to play at a disadvantage. Skype, which is often used for coordinating games and in-team communication, was routinely fingered as the culprit since it leaks the IP address information of the player and thus enables these attacks.
Oh wow!
And this was like, I really don't want to undersell how big of a problem this was, because I know that we talked about streaming here on the show before, where people stream the video games that they play. They've gone so far as to, let's say someone tries to call you, and that dialogue box instantly pops up, so and so is trying to call you. People would get in trouble simply by calling someone who's streaming their game. Their name would pop up, and then just by the fact that their Skype name has been seen would allow people to distribute a denial of service attack that person and prevent them from playing their game. Like, this was used a lot. Like, Skype was actually banned from quite a few tournaments just because, it did leak the IP information, and that gave rise to a couple other voice communication programs to, kind of take the place.
That was under the advanced tab on the left there, and then you highlight connection. Is Skype going to disable that, or what are they going to do?
By default, it will hide the IP address. And again, these websites that all you had to do was find the name and put it in there and out pop an IP address, they just had crawlers that would go through I don't know if they went through the databases of Skype, or they, kind of ping Skype and the Skype user account. but by default those were on, and really you couldn't hide the IP address. So, one ping away and it would send it back just what your IP address is. And then of course you can, clog up the traffic, and it was just bad. So now you won't be able to do it so easily. Now you won't be able to do the IP. Now you won't be able to ascertain the IP address just from a Skype user account, which is very, very nice.
And it's on by default too, which is nice too.
Yes.
I'd be curious. Obviously, Charles Tendall's going to be with us on Thursday. I'm kind of curious what his bet would be on this. This is right up his alley.
Added security by default is always a good thing. I can't imagine, honestly, mark it down your calendars. I think the exact phrase he's going to use is "about damn time." I think that is going to be the phrase he is going to use, because again, the leaking of the IP address, it was a huge problem in the gaming community.
Especially if you have a static IP, I don't think gamers would.
Not even like I heard of this one gentleman, like he had it leaked and he had to call up his IP, his internet provider, and they changed into a dynamic IP. He had to reset his router. He had to call the company. He had to get them to push him through to a new IP address, and then one person is an idiot and shows it on stream to a couple thousand people, and instantly he is locked out again, because that's all it takes. And you can even continue, like they have to get a whole new Skype account, because if you stay on the same Skype account, it really doesn't matter. They could just ping the same Skype account, and the new IP address would just pop right up. Not only do they have to change their IP to dynamic, but then they have to change Skype accounts altogether.
Yeah.
It was a problem. So again, about time. And this is why I say about time for Skype to do this.
It had to go through all this to finally, rather than having somebody at Skype.
Well, like when I say all this, Skype was generally banned from competitive play. So the workaround was to just not use Skype. It's nice that we can finally use Skype again without being worried about this.
Yeah.
But the result was a mass exodus from Skype.
Well, remember also to make sure that you have the latest version of Skype too. That will incorporate
that's
and make sure that well. All right, we got lots more stories coming up. We're going to take another short break. We've got another brand spanking new News Tips Bulletin Review from Marty Winston coming up, called Life Proof. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Yeah, Cleveland's where sports teams don't win pennants, they do pennants. Hi, Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, LifeProof cases. LifeProof is an OtterBox brand for phone cases that somehow manage to deliver the level of protection you'd expect from them, but in a much lither form factor. We tested on an iPhone 6. These cases are wonderfully thin, and the charging slot is easy to open. But removing the case from the handset is challenging. That is something you don't do very often. One nice touch, pun intended, you can use the fingerprint reader through the cover. So bottom line, LifeProof cases are drop-proof, waterproof, slender defenders. Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Yes, we are in the last half hour of the program. Time flies by so fast. And yeah, we are doing computer technology news brought to you by Slimmer Utilities. We just finished up with Skype and how it is finally hiding personal information that has caused so much grief and so much headache in the gaming community. But yeah, so update that Skype as soon as possible.
Yes.
So moving on, Craig, I believe the next story is yours.
And Sandy Berger actually talked a little bit about this when she was out at CES. And this is from Tech Hive, is that the Amazon Echo, one of the things she really likes about it, Sandy Berger being our consumer electronics expert and is here with us on a monthly basis, is that the Amazon Echo, which she's owned one from the start, well, evidently they've done an upgrade through software. It's the same Echo, but it will now know NFL scores, movie showtimes as well, thanks to a recent update. You know, that's nice because I wouldn't use the NFL because I'm not a big sports fan, but I would, however, say, oh, you know, what's playing at the local movie, and what are the times it's playing? You know, what time is Star Wars playing? I mean, that's nice to have. And evidently, this again, according to Neil Meditai, the Echo, which is Amazon's wireless speaker and household virtual assistant, is a pretty little smart gadget, and it continues to pick up new tricks as time goes on. In the most recent update, Amazon Echo learned how to report NFL scores and give movie showtimes. So according to Engadget, you can now ask Alexa to provide live NFL game scores just in time for Super Bowl 50, and even ask it to predict who will win the game. That's interesting. In addition, you can ask which movies are playing tonight, for example, or ask for showtimes for specific movies. The newest update started rolling out to users late last week, according to Engadget. So if you haven't gotten the update yet, you should get it shortly. And there's also a story behind the story. Amazon has been hard at work to further bolster the Echo's capabilities since its general release last summer, and Amazon shows no sign that the updates will let up soon. Since September, Amazon Echo gained the ability to read your Kindle books to you, bedtime stories for grown-ups, okay, and other business recommendations via Yelp integration. Amazon also added support for Inseon's home automation products, so you can control your lights using voice commands. So it's the technology that keeps on giving. It's one of the things that she really likes about it, and there it is.
Right, and I hope the phrasing gets better and better. Like you don't have to learn these commands; like they can become more natural as time goes on. And you can, you know, because there are 100 different ways to ask, hey, you know, hey, what are the scores of the game right now? And you know, maybe it'll know what game you're talking about from your search history. Maybe it'll know, you know, just in that time zone. But there are tons and tons of ways to ask the same question. So that's what I'm worried about, is that it's going to be able to do so many things, but you're going to have to know exactly how to talk to it. If they can meet you halfway by it being able to kind of infer what you want by, you know, by the information that it collects about you, that would be nice.
It would be. Yes, it would be. Okay.
Right. So, man, we have a lot of great stories, so we're going to go with a depressing one. Yay, depressing stories. So, sign of the times. 1 second here. Sign of the times. The biggest San Francisco taxi operator has filed for Chapter 11
Really?
bankruptcy.
Really?
Yes, indeedy. So,
Wow.
and this is Yellow Cab Cooperative. This by actually Nasdaq. So kind of straight from the source. But Yellow Cab Cooperative Inc., San Francisco's largest taxi company, filed for bankruptcy protection on Friday. The latest in a string of traditional taxi companies to turn to Chapter 11 amid the rapid rise of ride-hailing rivals like Uber and Lyft.
You think they're celebrating in over there at Uber and Lyft because of this? Jeez.
I don't think one should ever celebrate the downfall of someone else. I think that's a bit petty, but I mean, if Uber and Lyft are doing well, then they should celebrate that, not for the loss of jobs and life.
We sort of predicted that this was probably something like this was inevitable or going to happen.
Right. Again, this is a trend. This is not this is not out of the blue. Traditional cab companies are definitely struggling. So, and this is the co-op's president, again, the co-op of the Yellow Cab, said in court papers that her company faced a host of challenges, including high number of accident-related claims and liabilities, a steep decline in ridership, and competition from newer app-based ride-sharing services, namely Uber and Lyft, which have also increasingly poached Yellow Cab drivers. This is very true. I was actually out there at CES, and the driver that when I first arrived in town and used Uber, I believe, the rider there, by the way, he gave me an earful from the airport to the hotel room. He had a lot of things to say about Uber and Lyft and Yellow Cab. But out there, at least, he worked for Uber and he worked for Lyft, and his day job was actually a Yellow Cab driver.
Wow.
So he was actually working for all three at once just to make sure that he always that he was guaranteed a job when he wanted to work. And he I'm not going to go into all of his opinions on the subject matter, but he has definitely noticed the differences in the industry and what Uber and Lyft and other ride-sharing services have definitely started, and it's not going to go away. He mentioned that while he will keep his day job as a Yellow Cab driver, because when you are part of that, you are an actual paid salary employee. So you're guaranteed minimum wage, you're guaranteed health insurance, you're guaranteed insurance through the company. You're guaranteed a host of benefits. Whereas with Uber and Lyft, you are a contractor, so really you don't get any true benefits. And you only get to use the
and if anything happens to you in that car, guess what? You can't sue Uber or Lyft. Unlike Yellow Cab, if something happens. Because in this next thing,
well, not that you sue Yellow Cab, it's that the insurance through Yellow Cab will take care of you.
Exactly.
Right. And again, so through Uber and Lyft, you really get no guarantee of such services like you would through a true employer. So in June, a jury awarded $8.1 million to a woman who was partially paralyzed in a Yellow Cab accident. And the company says it faces some 150 open claims valued as high as $10 million.
Yeah, that's going to hurt.
I think that's what Craig was referencing, where not just the driver, but the passengers. Like you can't, like Uber and Lyft, because they have contractors, they really can't be at fault for who you get in the car with.
That's right. You can't sue Uber or Lyft because they're independent contractors, so the companies sort of shielded themselves, whereas Yellow Cab or cab companies like them are liable. So.
Right. So, and just to get into a little more detail here, taxi companies have been loath to pin their troubles on the startup competitors. They have Evgeny Friedman, known as New York Taxi's king, put several of its cab companies into bankruptcy protection last year in a move to stop his lenders from seizing 46 medallions, a fraction of the more than 860 his company controls. In court papers, he dismissed the notion that Uber and other tech-savvy competitors were hurting his business. So lending, and of course, they have a couple other comments here from Uber and Lyft, but let's just kind of leave it off there by saying one of the largest one of the largest cab cooperatives out in San Francisco has filed for bankruptcy. So, Uber and Lyft are only seeing signs of growth.
Yeah,
Definitely a sign of the times.
it is.
I would liken it a little bit to the great ending of newspapers when the internet came along. And like it seems like every newspaper, left, right, and center, started going out of business or simply online only. And everyone's like, man, newspaper, the entire industry is dead. And it's like the industry as a whole might not be dead, but it's definitely changing, and it's changing very, very quickly. I mean, newspapers didn't die out, but the newspaper industry is as much online as it is offline nowadays.
Yeah.
So Yellow Cab all around the country are probably going to deal with the same thing. It's a changing industry, and they're going to adapt.
Yeah, they're going to have to, or go out of business. We reported earlier, I think last week, about Netflix beginning VPN blocking, because people were using VPNs to get around and enable themselves to watch content on Netflix by staying anonymous. So Netflix couldn't tell where they were, and so basically Netflix only provides certain programming to certain regions of the globe, depending upon where you are. And people were using
because of licensing, not because they hate you in Australia. It's licensing agreements.
Yeah. And when they went global, all this happened. Well, according to we said they're going to start implementing VPN blocking, and evidently they're starting to do it. And again, this story from Ian Paul
from Tech Hive.
Tech Hive, yes. So basically, the battle has begun. This is Australian VPN service Uflix, which built its entire business on accessing non-Australian Netflix and services such as BBC's iPlayer, recently reported that some of its users were seeing messages asking them to turn off their proxies while trying to access Netflix. It's quoted, they would see this message: "You seem to be using an unblocker or proxy. Please turn off any of these services and try again." That's what the message says. So guess what? When you turn it off, they go, "Aha, now we know where you are and you can't watch this." So there's a tweet here from Uflix that says, "Hi everyone, the new fix is in place. Please test it out. If anyone gets proxy VPN error issues, please submit a ticket immediately." So within hours, that message from Uflix rolled out with a fix to the issue and asked anyone with further problems to fill out a support ticket. The battle begins because here we have one super giant and one not big, but this is their business. Uflix is, they can't have this happen, because if their product fails to work, basically people aren't going to pay Uflix for their VPN anymore. So again, within hours, they came out in response. The battle between Uflix and Netflix is likely to continue for some time, with Netflix throwing up roadblocks to Uflix users and Uflix countering with endless fixes. It's just like shifting IP addresses, just likely shifting IP addresses around. So now Netflix doesn't appear to be carrying out a worldwide clampdown yet, suggesting Uflix customers are part of a small-scale test as Netflix hones in its VPN blocking skills. So that's what they're doing. This is a test run. They're going to see how well they can do this. Now, the story behind the story here, he says, for years, people living or traveling overseas would use private VPNs and proxies to access U.S. and international versions of Netflix. In January of 2015, for example, Variety reported that China may have nearly 22 million Netflix users, and the service isn't even available in China. Netflix basically turned a blind eye to this behavior. By comparison, other content services such as Hulu actively block VPN users now. So, continuing on, Netflix's permissiveness toward VPN usage is ending with the streaming service expanding its reach to more than 190 countries. So they've got to put this into place. And it's going to be a fight. As a global content distributor, Netflix wants to ensure it's honoring the country or region-specific distribution agreements it has with movie and television copyright holders. This is going to be a battle. It's going to be a technology battle. This is going to be the typical lock and key thing that we see all the time. Both of them have a lot to lose because of VPN providers can figure out ways around Netflix. Then all the people that Netflix, making their agreements with, might come up to Netflix and say, "Hey, we're going to pull our content from you." Of course, what was it? Nathan Evans kept saying that the answer basically is Netflix this is all going to go bye-bye because Netflix is going to provide its own content, coming out with original programming, and so they won't have to worry about that.
There are certain countries that have different ratings, so some of that might be rated. Certain rating in one country may not be rated a certain in another, and rating does matter on a country by country basis. So it's one thing, but as much as Netflix is definitely investing in their own content, they're far from dropping all other content and only having Netflix content.
No, that's true, but it was a good point that Nathan Evans, he's the managing editor at PopZera. If you missed that episode, that he made that point. He said, things like House of Cards, they're going to start producing. They're spending over $1 billion.
Well, even if you did away with everything but Netflix, you'd still only have maybe 1,000 shows, and that'd be
Well, anyway, the article goes on that it says Netflix offers different catalogs depending on the country you're in. This includes everything from recent movie releases to classic films like Major League. Users often use VPNs to switch countries and access a different catalog to get around the gaps in their domestic Netflix offering. Netflix enables this since your account is international and access from any Netflix country in the world, but restricted to that country's catalog. An American traveling to Sweden, for example, wouldn't see the U.S. version of Netflix, but the Swedish one. In Canada, he'd see the Canadian catalog, and so on. So whether Netflix can truly stop every VPN in the world from routing around its region blocking is unclear. It's going to be an enormous task. For the time being, however, the game is on between Netflix and the world's VPN providers. I can hear the bells going off now. Ding, 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 ding. And in this corner, it is going to be a battle, a technological battle. Just how smart are the VPN providers, and just how smart are the tech people that work over for Netflix?
It's the same game that many companies have been dealing with, like things like the Pirate Bay. Authorities have been taken down and they're hosted in different countries all the time. But of course, everything's backed up and they just, point it to another IP address that they have already set up. And, they're back up within hours. It's an inconvenience, but unless new technology comes out, there's not really much Netflix can do.
Well, yes and no. It all depends how clever their people are.
Unless new technology comes out, it's pretty easy to get around VPN sniffers.
Mm-hmm. So who do you think is going to win in the long run, the VPN companies or Netflix, Ben?
I honestly hope Netflix creates some kind of not marketing, licensing agreement, worldwide. Honestly, I hope that Netflix is able to bring as much content and enough content to enough countries that they can safely say that you don't need a VPN because what you want to watch in America is available to watch in Australia, is available to watch in the UK, is available to watch in China. Mm-hmm. I hope that, and everything vice versa. I hope that they can come up with some kind of global rights kind of deal instead of just a, country by country basis. Mm-hmm. I think that would be the ultimate fix for this. Until then, again, it's a game of cat and mouse. And
it is. Interesting one. Yeah.
Definition of interesting. But speaking of interesting, here's another story that we're going to talk about. And this is actually a tweet behind the story. Tweet behind the story. And this is coming from a story actually about from Ars Technica in the UK. And let's read the tweet here first because it has everything to do with this. And this is from Jack, who is, I believe, the CEO of Twitter. But anyways, given the inaccurate press rumors today regarding their departures, by the way, their departures is referencing a couple of high-level senior executives from Twitter. So regarding today's departures, I'm addressing this now. I'm sad to announce that Alex Roeder, Skip Shipper, Katie Stanton, and Kevin Weil have chosen to leave the company. Alex and Kevin, both here over 5 years, scaled the ads, product, and engineering teams from producing near zero revenue to over $2 billion run rate, and as it is today, and have run all product and engineering together for the last 18 months, helping to drive an increased pace of execution. Katie, also here 5 years, blah, blah, did a lot of good stuff, and Skip's tenure has been shorter, where he has played a key role in scaling HR and functions globally. So all four have taken some well-deserved time off, and he's personally grateful to each and every one of them. And they're saying that a couple other of the remaining members are going to take over their duties, and they even announced some names and saying that they will be partnering with him day and night to make sure the building the right experiences. But that's Jack, who I believe is the CEO of Twitter, trying to get out ahead of this reporting that 4 different people, the COO, I want to say in this, the head of production, the head of media, the head of engineering, and the head of HR, all 4 of them at once have resigned in one day. And that generally doesn't happen too often in most large tech companies.
So what do you think? What do you think is happening here?
Well, and this is according to Recode, some of the departures were by choice, and others were asked to resign. And Stanton, among others, said that she'll be taking some time off to help raise her kids, and help Hillary Clinton become president. Weil says that Weil will be following a similar route, tweeting that he'll be spending more time with his wife and kids, and some long trail runs. And others will say they'll be taking a step back for their family, and you know, it's in reality, of course, it's pretty unusual for 5 department division heads to all announce that they're leaving at the same in the same evening. The departures are almost certainly related to Twitter's tumbling share value. Twitter's shares, after a year of trending downwards, are now trading at just $17.84, an all-time low and less than half the company's original share price.
Are you saying it's like the rats deserting a sinking ship? Is that what the point of this article is?
I mean, I wouldn't call them rats. I'd call them, you know.
That's better for you. In other words, you're saying.
Yeah. Just, you know, when all else fails, time to jump ship. So since becoming CEO of Twitter in mid-2015, Dorsey has toyed with a number of ideas that might buoy investors' confidence and thus the company's share prices. In October, he fired about 8% of Twitter's workforce, and he's also tried to push out new features such as Twitter Moments that might drive new user growth. And now Dorsey has top 5 positions that need filling, holding on tight. A lot more changes are coming to Twitter this year. So, you know, it could be a couple of them are jumping ship because they see, you know, this as only going lower, or it could be that they're looking for some some change in direction, and they decided that's, you know, to make it look voluntary, but really they want to say that these people who have been here for half a decade in this tech company need to go so we can get some new ideas and fresh ideas and, you know, try to turn Twitter around, as it is, again, losing value all the time.
Okay. All right. Well.
But but said well that we will be seeing lots and lots and lots of changes in Twitter in the coming year, because again, they have to do something because they're not doing too well.
Okay. Well, as we have so many more stories, we just don't have a time to get to them. I wanted to do one from Ars Technica about Samsung's Gold Gear S2 Classic. His watch is going to cost thousands less than the Apple Watch edition, but we won't have time to get to that. Maybe we can do some of these others here on tomorrow afternoon show. Also, Spotify video services launch on Android this week, and Amazon wants to integrate some of its services with your smartphone, which is kind of cool. And also, Apple TV software updates adds missing podcast apps. These are some of the stories that we just don't have a chance to get to, but hopefully we'll get to tomorrow's show. In the meantime, that about wraps up the program. Tomorrow, we're going to have a company called Bridge on the show, BRYDGE. We're going to have the company's CEO and co-founder, Nicholas Smith, on, and they're going to talk about their keyboards. They have keyboards for that are really, really different, and we'll get into the differences on the show. But they're making for the iPad, and also making they're looking at making for the Android platform. So that should be an interesting program. They're going to be on in the first hour. Again, just for those of you looking at the calendar, we haven't had a chance to update on Thursday's show. That's the 28th, where we had Epson. We're going to talk about the Epson Expression XP 830, their newest all-in-one, small-in-one printer. They're going to be coming on sometime in the February timeframe. And in their absence, we're going to have Charles Tendell is going to be joining us, our certified ethical hacker and longtime friend of the show. Did you know he told me that
90 seconds.
He was on the front page of the New York Times, and also he was in the front page of the New York Times, and one other thing, he was on for 2 different services. Here it is, and on Good Morning America, he was on both. So I said, no, that's terrific. So he's going to tell us about that experience and what that was like. And I told him that makes him good enough to qualify to be on our show on Thursday.
60
Fair
seconds.
enough.
Yeah. So that about wraps it up. Thank you again to Michael Miller, our correspondent, author extraordinary, for being on with the first hour. And we will see him again in the upcoming months ahead. He's agreed to that. He's just got a lot of other things that he's doing right now, and so he won't be here on a monthly basis, but he'll certainly be here with us from time to time. And again, thanks to all of you for being here with us. Again, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, live. And thank you so much for being with us. And Ben and I will see you tomorrow, same time. So until tomorrow afternoon, this is Craig Crossman, hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye-bye.
10 seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, everybody, again, thank you for watching our video stream, and we'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.